She shot herself first. That's how the story opens. A single round to the leg, a frantic 911 call, and a voice that trembles just enough to sound believable. She says 2 men broke in. She says they killed her boyfriend and wrapped him up before she walked in. Sirens close in. Lights splash the hallway. And within minutes, the police are inside a Zanesville apartment that's about to argue with every word she just said. What looked like chaos on the phone looks strangely neat in real life. That's the first hairline fracture in a story that won't survive the night. But the room hadn't even started talking yet. Welcome back to the Criminal Minds. Before we continue, thank you for being here. If you want more deep dives like this, hit subscribe. It's free, but for us it's real support and motivation to keep going. I appreciate you. Real home invasions leave footprints. Missing jewelry. Missing guns. Cabinets dumped like a storm hit them. Here, officers found order. A tidy apartment, valuables untouched, multiple firearms still present. The ransacking the caller described was more like light mess-making. Torn photos of the couple on the floor. That's rage, not robbery. When detectives pulled security video from neighboring buildings, they found no one sprinting away from the scene. If strangers had done this, they left like ghosts, carrying nothing, and that's not how burglars work. The apartment had a voice, and it was saying this wasn't a break-in. So, if it wasn't the strangers, who was it? The official timeline lands like a weight. The day before the 911 call, she stood behind Tom Waddell as he sat in his recliner and fired a .22 into the back of his head. Not a struggle, not a standoff. A single choice in a quiet room. Later, he's found in the bedroom, wrapped in trash bags, duct tape, and a comforter. It doesn't take a profiler to see what that wrapping means. Control, delay, and the hope that time will blur a motive. She waits until the next afternoon to dial 911 and performs a script. Intruders, injury, panic. But the time gap is its own confession. If a stranger does this, you call now. She waited, and waiting tells a story. The phone in her pocket tells an even louder one. Search history doesn't lie to make you look good. On her device, investigators saw the practice questions people ask when they're not improvising. Worst place to get hit in the head. What does .22 ammo look like? How to unlock the hammer on a revolver? How to load a revolver pistol? And the cleanup question, how long does GSR stay on skin? When they tested her hands, they found exactly what those searches warned about: gunshot residue. Panic doesn't Google days of firearm basics, and residue windows. Preparation does. She would later try to reframe those searches as self-harm research. The timeline and the packaging on Tom's body said otherwise. And then detectives discovered the part that turns a bad story into a worse one. The other boyfriend. Detectives Mitchell and Val tracked down John Anderson, a man who'd been on-again/off again with her for a decade. He's stunned. He thought she was a live-in nurse caring for a dementia patient named Tom. She told him that. He believed her. The day after the killing, she goes hiking with John, wanders off alone a few times, and acts off he notices but can't place it. That's not the aftermath of walking in on a violent burglary. That's someone managing two realities and trying to keep both from collapsing at once. When detectives tell John the truth, one story dies and another becomes the only one that fits the evidence. So they sat her down in a hospital gown, leg bandaged, and let her talk.
So I just walked down that way just because sometimes walking helps clear my head.
Well, I definitely understand that. Going for a nice walk always helps out. How far did you walk and where did you walk to that day?
Let's see. I walked kind of past the nursing home thing.
By the Oaks? I think that's what it's called.
I think so.
Okay.
And I cut through the field, and then I went right down like a little alleyway type road. Mm-hmm. And then it wasn't until later I had tried to contact Tom. I texted him, I called him, and I never heard back, which was weird because normally he's pretty good about getting back to me.
Okay.
And so Johnny and I took a walk at Black Cannon Gorge.
Okay.
And I decided I want to go back to the apartment. I was getting more worried about Tom. I hadn't heard back from him. So I got out and I noticed Tom's truck was still in the parking lot.
That red one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Tom never really goes anywhere without his truck. He's always one of those, he drives himself, or he doesn't really go.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked in, I saw the cleaning lady, she was just wrapping up.
Okay.
And I walked to the door and I noticed it was unlocked.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I saw that the light in the spare bedroom was on. I saw the light in the bedroom was on. And I decided to call 911.
Okay.
Because I was worried that someone had tried to rob us or whatever was going on, and I didn't see Tom right away.
Okay.
And so I was making my way back to the bedroom, but I glanced where Tom's phone normally lays. It wasn't there. I glanced in the spare bedroom where he usually puts all his stuff, like his wallet, his everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't there. And I was thinking maybe he stepped out, maybe he went with family or something.
Okay. Does he have family up here?
In Cincinnati.
Okay.
And so I hadn't even made it to the bedroom yet. And there was two guys, hoodies, masks, who came out.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, the 911 operator was telling me to back into the hall.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so scared. I bet I kept backing up. And eventually, the one assailant pulled out a gun and got close enough to me and fired it off. And they both bolted.
Mm-hmm.
Where they went to after they bolted out the door, I don't know where they went to, because at that point I was shot and I was in pain.
Where did they come out of?
The back bedroom.
Great interrogations don't shout. They listen. From the hospital bed, she retells the intruder's tale, then pivots when pressed. Maybe she grabbed a gun as one man threatened her. The details don't hold. She insists she never returned to the apartment during the gap, then blurts that she went back for her PlayStation. Detectives bring up the GSR. They bring up the searches. They bring up the surveillance that shows no one fleeing. There's a moment where they tell her Tom is dead. The tears come. The lead interviewer lets the room go quiet long enough for her own timeline to cave in. It's not the crying that convinces anyone. It's the physics of the scene, the logic of the phone, and the way her story keeps borrowing parts it can't afford. From there, the case stops being a mystery and starts being paperwork.
He asked me if I just wanted to be dropped off at the apartment. I told him, I just asked him, can we just go back to his place and just like play some games? And
why didn't you want to go back to the apartment?
I just figured a night away was, because I like to play video games and Tom doesn't. So I like to play video games with Johnny and other people who are kind of into that kind of thing.
Did you have your own video games you took, or does he have the games, or how'd that work out?
I have a PlayStation 4 and he has an Xbox.
Did you take your PlayStation over there?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's it at now?
It's still at his place.
Okay.
And then yesterday, I got him up around noon.
Okay.
And then we went to Black Hand Gorge and we walked for a little while. And I decided I wanted to go back to the apartment because, like I said,
whose idea was to do the Black Hand Gorge?
I had asked them either Dillon Dam or Black Hand Gorge because I knew they had a good walking path.
Okay. So when you left on Wednesday at around 4 p.m. to take a walk, did you ever go back to the apartment until you got shot?
I popped in briefly to get my backpack just so I could put the PlayStation in it, but that was...
When was that?
It was before 4:30.
Prosecutors filed a stack. Murder with firearm specification, tampering with evidence, gross abuse of a corpse. A few months later, March 18th, 2024, she pleads guilty. The life sentence follows. The county calls it the product of a rock-solid investigation, a bureau firing on all cylinders. That's not chest-thumping. It's the truth of how the case reads. The leg shot was the opening act. The fake ransack was the stage set. The 911 call was the script. And the evidence, orderly apartment, intact valuables, no fleeing intruders, GSR, search terms, double life, timeline gaps, was a critic that shut the show down.
All right, Debbie, let's talk about this, okay? Sorry, look at me. Who do you think killed him?
Don't know.
Let me ask you this, and I'm going to ask you to be 100% honest with me. Did you have something to do with his death?
No.
Okay. So let me explain this to you, Deborah, and I'm going to be as straight as possible. So on the night of Wednesday, something happened. I don't know exactly what happened in that apartment between you and Tom, but I know that you're the one that's responsible for his death.
I'm not.
Charging you with murder, which is a unclassified felony where you spend life in prison. Felonious assault, which is F2. Tampering with evidence. Gun specs, which is mandatory time on top of any conviction. So you'll get life plus whatever gun spec time. Domestic violence, and your bond's going to be $2 million. Any other questions for us? All right.
What should viewers take away from a case like this? First, staging leaves fingerprints of its own. When a burglary skips the valuables but tears up photos of the couple, investigators hear emotion, not theft. Second, timelines beat performances. If you're telling the truth, your story survives being told backward, sideways, and after a night of sleep. Lies buckle when details get repeated. Third, phones or diaries. Search terms are intent in lowercase letters. Fourth, interrogation is patience. Let a suspect explain. Don't rush the pivot. Watch when they make it. Finally, cover stories often borrow pieces of true events, a real bar fight, a real hike, a real injury, and arrange them to hide the part that can't be defended. When those pieces don't add up to how bodies and rooms behave, juries don't need confessions. They need the story that matches physics. If the intruder story had been perfect, valuables gone, guns missing, cabinets dumped, a neighbor's camera catching two men in hoodies, would have worked? Maybe for a week. Maybe not at all. Because phones, timelines, and what rooms say can't be ransacked into silence. That's the part people forget when they plan a cover story. The scene talks. If you were the detective on this case, which single detail would have made you pause first? The untouched firearms, the no one fleeing cameras, or the search term about GSR? Drop your take below. I'll be in the comments reading. And don't forget to subscribe.